Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Noah. I'm one of the educators with Shortcuts, and today we're going to have our classroom session on reporting in Shortcuts. Now, this is actually the advanced class. So, previously, we talked about running some of the basic reports for your business. Today, we're going to focus on a few specific things. So, before we begin, let's go through the usual things we talk about on our presentations. So, we are recording this session. And of course, if you have to leave early, that's fine. We will send a copy of this recording out to everybody that signed up. Now, my microphone is, of course, on. We are recording, and we will have time at the end of the presentation to take questions. Now, I think somebody has a question. Oh, good morning, Taylor. Good morning, Heather. A couple of the usual people are in. It's good to see you again. So if you're watching this video after the fact, if you're on our YouTube channel at Shortcuts USA, Shortcuts North America, we will put up our contact information. So you still have the ability to ask us questions after the fact. If you reach out to us on social media or on our Shortcuts webpage, we will get back to you. So let's dig into today's topic. Now, with regards to reporting in Shortcuts, we're going to talk about some of the basic things that everybody should know about. Specifically, if you're setting up commission, if you're setting up wages for your staff. You should know how to do that. We talked about that earlier, but I'm going to review it. But then the advanced function is how to work with extended commissions. Now, this is actually an add-on feature for Shortcuts. This doesn't come included by default for any particular tier level or any particular customer package. Extended commissions allows you to do a number of unique things with regards to your staff, with regards to how you're tracking your services, how you're tracking your inventory. If you have a front desk team, if you have a relatively large team, extended commissions might be a very effective way of tracking productivity and figuring out what the staff should be receiving. So let's talk about some of the basics. So when we are dealing with reports, we want to go to Tools, Reports, and we have a number of different categories that we go to. Now, when you're on here, today, for example, we're going to be focusing on the reports that have to do with staff productivity and payment. So those are usually the commission and wages reports. And with every report that we have in Shortcuts, as soon as you select it, before you even run it for any date range, Shortcuts gives you a description. So you're never flying blind in Shortcuts. So if you're trying to figure out, okay, what does the tax report include or what does the wages report include? As soon as you select it, there is a window on the right column that will give you a brief description. Once you press View, by default, Shortcuts will want to run the report for the particular day that we're on. So for example, if I were to go to any report in Shortcuts today, press the View button, then Shortcuts is going to assume, okay, do you want to look at the reports for Tuesday? Or I can set a particular date, so I can go to any point from the very first day I installed Shortcuts, or set a date range. So maybe I want to look at last month, or I want to look at last quarter, even last year, and then press View. So everybody should be familiar with that. And when it comes to creating commissions, now some sites have staff that are hourly. Some sites have staff that should be commission based. And if they have commissions, are you paying your staff commission based on the services they do? Are you paying your staff based on any retail that they upsell? If so, you want to go to schedule, the same screen that you would normally enter the staff schedules. So from there, at the bottom of the screen, there's a button that says commissions. By default, there are no commissions in Shortcuts. You have to create them. So whether you have a flat commission for everybody, let's say it's 50%, regardless of how many services they do, you can set it to just 50% for all amounts. And if they're getting a commission on any retail, again, everybody gets the same commission, 5% or very generous, a 10% commission for retail. You can set that up as well. And I'm actually going to give you a live demo in a moment. But the report that is connected to that is called the Commission and Wages Report. This should be familiar to everybody. So this is going to show you if the staff is hourly, then what should they be paid for that period? Whether it's a week or 2 weeks. If the staff should get a commission, what should the commission be? For service, for retail, potentially even for sundry. So remember, sundry is any income for the business that's not necessarily a product or a service. So things like if the staff is upselling a lot of gift cards, that would count as a sundry. Or if the staff, let's say they're upselling other services or other products that are not necessarily on your standard list, those are all sundries. So should they get a commission on those? So the commission and wages report will give you the details on all of that, hourlies or commissions, and then give you a total in case your business gives them their hourly rate plus their commissions. So let's actually set it up or review it and then look at which report corresponds to it. So in Shortcuts, remember, I'm on the new build of Shortcuts, Shortcuts 8.1. So my screens may look a little bit different than yours if you're running version 7 or the early version 8, which is Shortcuts Fusion. However, all of the steps that I'm doing count exactly the same. So aside from the buttons looking a little different, all of the steps are the same. So I'm going to go under the Setup tab on the right side of the screen in my menu, and under Setup, I'm going to Employees. Now, if you have staff, as you select their names from the pull-down menu on the top left of the screen, Joe, for example, on the bottom left corner, if you have a staff member that should get an hourly rate, this is where you would enter it. And then I would press Save. Now, if your staff should instead get a commission, you have a pull-down menu next to the hourly rate, and this allows you to choose one of the commissions you've already created. Now, if you haven't created a commission or you had a commission previously and you want to modify it, you have to go to the Schedule button. So go to the Schedule button, and this is, again, where you create your commissions. So normally you would enter the staff schedules here, but at the bottom of the screen, there's a commission button. Again, there are no default commissions in Shortcuts. You have to create them. So the first one you'll want to do is you'll press New, and you'll give your commission a name. Now, for the sake of my test environment, I have 2 commissions that I've created. The first one I call Commission 1, and this is sort of my flat commission. So for everybody on staff that gets Commission 1, I tell Shortcuts in the very first row here, in the 2 columns above, I say from $0 to infinite dollars, and I denote infinite dollars by just putting a bunch of 9s here. So I'm telling Shortcuts, regardless of how much the employee sells from 0 to infinite dollars, how much should their commission be for services? In this case, 50%. It doesn't matter if they do a kid's haircut. It doesn't matter if they do a balayage. It's 50%. Now, I'm also going to give the staff a retail commission. So if they upsell products, they actually get 5% of that. Again, regardless of if they sell one item or if they sell thousands of dollars worth of products, they get 5%. Once I press done, then Shortcuts knows, okay, this is commission 1. These are the particulars. Now, my alternate commission structure, commission 2. What that is designed for is sort of an incentive program, a tier program. So I told Shortcuts from $0 to $800, the service, any services that they perform get 45%, the retail remains 5%. However, if the staff does over $800 in services, in this case it's $800.01, up to $1,200, that's when they get 50% commission, and it's still 5% for retail. Now, if they have a particularly good week and they do over $1,200, in this case $1,200.01, up to infinite dollars, again denoted by nines across the board, that's when they get 55% of the service commission and still 5% of the retail. Now, by doing this, let's say I have a staff member that does 13 or 14 or $2,000 worth of services that week. Does that mean they get 55% of those $2,000 worth of services? No. So this is an important factor when you're setting up your commissions. So this is not target based. So even if the staff does $2,000 worth of services, anything above $1,200, only that portion they receive 55% of. Between $800 and $1,200, they're going to get their 50% cut of that. And anything below $800, they're going to get 45% of that. So that's going to be the 55 plus the 50 plus the 45, which is less than the staff would receive if I just gave them a target of anything over 1,200, everything would become a 55% cut. So I hope that makes sense for you. So that is how commissions are calculated by default in shortcuts. So again, if I make my changes and make my adjustments or even create a new commission type, I would return back to the employee screen, choose a particular employee, and then decide should they be receiving one commission or the other commission. So I'm going to set Sam to get one, Stevie to get two. Or should they be hourly? So now if I were to run my report, and let's actually take a look at the actual report. I'm going to go to Tools, Reports, on the left side, Employees, Commission and Wages Report. Now, I'm just going to run it for today because I only had test transactions for today, not necessarily this week. So I will view it, and then Shortcuts will generate a report. And the nice thing about this report is every staff member gets their own one single page with their details. So if I had to print these out, they don't necessarily see what their coworkers are doing. So in this case, I see that Andy worked 9 hours. This is his total service, but I did not set him up for a commission. At the bottom of the screen, I'll go to the next staff member. So Joe, for example, in this case, this is what Joe did. So he worked 9 hours. I give him $11 an hour. He did X amount of service, X amount of retail, and should he get a commission for that? So again, every staff member has their own particular single page breakdown. So now let's go back to the presentation. So that should be a refresher for everybody that's been using shortcuts. You should now remember or know how to modify your standard commissions. But now let's get a little bit more advanced. So if your business wants to calculate commissions a little bit different, what can you do? This is when extended commissions come into play. The most popular reason that a site would want to use extended commissions is to deduct any cost for colors or chemicals before a commission is calculated. Because as we know, the color tubes, any of the chemicals that you use, your straighteners, any of your finishers that you use, they can start to get pricey really fast. So we want to make sure whether it's $1 or $5 or $15 that you have to deduct before the commission is calculated. That's where extended commissions come into play. Also, if you have a target that you want to hit. So remember, the default that Shortcuts runs for its commissions is cumulative. So it's that 55% plus the 50 plus the 45. If instead your business would want to reward your staff by giving them their target percentage, their target commission, you can actually configure that in the extended commissions. Is there a fee for every bill that you have, whether it's a fee that covers the front desk cost or any charges or anything else? There is a way to establish that in extended commissions. Are you splitting any commissions with the receptionist, with the front desk? Whether it's the front desk or the staff that are upselling products or a combination of the two, should they be splitting that? There's a way to do that. So there's a bunch of different ways to set up these commissions. And let's actually review some of these features. So again, extended commissions is not included by default in any version of Shortcuts. This is actually an add-on for Shortcuts, and it does work in both Fusion and it does work in both version 8.1. So in the first column, the first row, so you have the ability to remove the cost of a product. So this is deducting the buy price for the total sale before a commission is calculated. And it's a simple yes/no checkbox. Then there's wage schedule. So when you run the report, how do you want Shortcuts to actually calculate the staff totals? Are they going by their roster, what was actually scheduled in Shortcuts that they should be working on? Or are they going by the actual hours where the staff clocked in and out or logged, or I should say the actual hours for the services they performed or logged hours? Those are the ones where the staff actually clocked in and out. So when Shortcuts is calculating their hours, how do you want Shortcuts to calculate those? Removing the cost of a service. So whenever a staff member performs a certain service, and these are usually your color, your chemical services, how much do you want to deduct before the commission is calculated? So again, whether it's $1, $5 to cover the cost of certain chemicals, you tell Shortcuts, for this particular service, I want you to deduct $1 before I give them their commission. So these are actually the steps to do that. And I will actually review it in a live demonstration. But if you've been using ECR in the past, extended commissions in the past, and you forgot where this window is, it's on the third column. Once you select it, you set which service and which level. So you can actually have a deduction that's different depending on the level of the employee. So for a master stylist, a senior stylist, an apprentice stylist, if you know that apprentice stylists sometimes aren't measuring the correct color or chemical, and therefore, before I give them their commission, I'm actually going to charge them $2 or deduct $2 before they get their commission on a service. And I know the master stylists are precise to the milliliter, then I'm only going to deduct $1 from them before I give them their commission. So you can actually set it per level, and if you have a multi-block service, whether this deduction applies to every block or only the first block. Don't forget to press save once you make your adjustments here. And again, I'll show you on the actual extended commissions where these windows are. Then in the fourth column, we have banding type. So this is where you set, is your target for your staff cumulative or banding when they get their commission? So is it that 55% because they hit their target of over 1,200, for example? Or is it the cumulative, the 55 plus the 50 plus the 45? So that example. So that is where you tell it. And it's a simple checkbox. So this is the example that we have. In this case, it's the 40-45%. So in this case, if it was cumulative, if the staff did, let's say, $1,500 worth of services, and I had two different rates, 40 and 45%, the staff on cumulative would get $625 for their commission. If they hit their target, instead, it would be $675. So if you want to make adjustments, that's going to be based on your banding type. In the second row, so calculation period, this is sort of related to your report period. So when you want the report to run, extended commissions to run, do you want it to calculate based on a weekly period? So Shortcuts is going to look at a full 7 days? Or do you want it to run based on your reporting period? So if you choose to run the report on 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, then Shortcuts will give you the breakdown depending on which reporting period you want. And this does affect the numbers because if you tell Shortcuts run it on a weekly basis, then Shortcuts is going to ask you to always ensure that you're selecting a full 7-day week, not just a 5-day week. So set fee per bill is as it says. If you want to just deduct an automatic amount to cover miscellaneous costs for every bill, every ticket that you get, then you can set it here. Is it a dollar amount? Is it a percentage? So you can set that. Fallback wage, a little bit more important. So for your business, do you want Shortcuts to calculate the commission and give the staff member their hourly and their commission when it calculates it, or whichever is greater? So you actually get to set this option up. And that's in the third column, fallback wage. Now remember, everything that you set in extended commissions is actually first established in the standard commission in Shortcuts. So even if you would prefer to have a target commission basis for ECR, and Shortcuts by default does not calculate target, it calculates cumulative tiers, you still have to create that in Shortcuts. And everything I'm talking about, everything that I'm showing in the slideshow in the presentation, I will review in the actual system. So it's not just a bunch of slides, you'll see it in action. In the fourth column, are you paying for a series at full price? So when you're calculating the commission, if you have a series that you have for your services, for example, a haircut series, you sell a series of 10 haircuts for the price of 8. So when the commission is calculated, should it give the staff the commission based on the sale price of the series, which is usually cheaper than actually buying 10 haircuts? Or should they get their commission on what the value of those full actual 10 haircuts should have been? So you get to set that rate. So in this case, are you splitting the commission with a receptionist? So if the receptionist does a lot of upselling, helps with a lot of the staff members' clients, should they get a percentage of any commissions that they receive? Maybe it's 1% or 2% or 3%, whatever it is, that's where you set what the breakdown should be. Now, when the report is run, do you want to include any tips received? So this will actually add a new section, a new column that you can see in the report, extended commissions. Retail commissions. So this is similar to the commission that you set in the standard Shortcuts commission setup, where you say, okay, for any retail sales, you get a flat 5%, or if you do more than $500 worth of retail, you're going to get 10%. So you can actually set bands and tiers and have a little bit more control than you could in the standard Shortcuts commissions. And again, I'm going to show you in real time what some of these columns, how to set them up, how to use them. If you've been using extended commissions and you really haven't been setting them up in a while, we'll review that. Of course, taxes are very important. So when you run your report, do you want to include or exclude the taxes on that particular report? Now, additional types. This is in the first column at the very bottom. This is something that will absolutely be mandatory for a lot of the businesses that we work with. In the case of a salon or a spa that has both technical and standard services, and let's say a haircut in your business, the staff member should get a 45% commission. But whenever the staff does a chemical or a color service or something that requires a lot more time, a lot more skill, instead of giving them 45%, you want to give them a 50% commission for doing technical services. This is where you can start to set up that special band. So remember, in standard Shortcuts commissions, a service, regardless of the type of service, would receive just that flat percentage. In this way, you can actually tell shortcuts I have two different types of services, technical and non-technical. So that's one way you can set up an additional type of commission for your reports. Bands is sort of where you set your tiers. Now, in shortcuts, there's about 5 levels or 5 bands that you can set up. Now, in this case, you actually have the ability to set up to 8 bands or 8 tiers when you're doing your calculations. So if you have a larger staff or a different sliding scale and the standard shortcuts commission just doesn't offer you enough flexibility, this is going to be a really good answer for that. And the screen to configure it looks a little different than the standard shortcuts commission screen. I'm going to show you in real time what it looks like. So before we run the extended commissions report, so the report that is associated with extended commissions is completely separate than the standard commission report in shortcuts. You'll actually see commission/wages report dash extended. So you still have your original report that you can run in shortcuts, or you can run the extended report, which includes all of the features that I've been talking about. They'll be reflected in the report, they'll be reflected in the numbers, and it will even show you a breakdown if you want to see where the deductions are and how much those were. So let's actually look at it in real time. So I'm going to get out of the presentation. So remember, if you've been using extended commissions, or if you want to configure extended commissions, you still need to set up a basic commission structure in shortcuts, even if you don't plan on using the structure that you have here. So I would still go to schedule, I would still go to commission, and depending on what types of commissions you have, you would create them here, even if you never enter any information. So I could have commission 2 and just put zeros everywhere and save it, because I know I'm going to make my specific changes in the extended commission screen. But in this case, I'm going to leave it as is. I have 2 commission structures, my 50% and then my tiered one, which is commission 2. So how do I configure this in extended commissions? So extended commissions exists outside of shortcuts. The icon actually looks like the shortcuts logo. It has these multicolor squares. So once this window comes up, now this is protected by security. So if you have a security pin on your system, not just any employee can bring up extended commissions. You have to be an administrator. So these are those various columns that I was showing in the slideshow. But the majority of the changes for most of the sites that use extended commissions are actually performed in the third column. And we'll start at the bottom, bands. So under bands, this is where we recreate what the commission structure is in shortcuts. So I'm going to go specifically to commission 2. So I'm going to tell shortcuts for my commission 2 structure. This is where I tell shortcuts from 0 to 800, the staff gets a 45% commission, and from $8 to $1,200, they get a 50% commission. So you can already see that this window looks a little bit different than the one we use in the regular shortcuts. And then from above $1,200, again denoted by a bunch of 9s, that's when they would get a 55% commission. And I'll save my changes. Now, what about retail? In this case, if you're on commission structure 2, from $0 to infinite dollars, you get 5% for retail. So I've recreated the commission 2 structure I have in shortcuts. Now I'll go and I'll create the commission 1 structure. So my commission 1 structure is very basic. From 0 to infinite dollars, that's 50%. I'll save it. And again, retail, there's really no difference between commission 1, commission 2. It's 5%, regardless of how much they upsell. So that's the very first thing I do. If I'm using extended commissions, I want to set up any bands and recreate the structure I have in the standard shortcuts. Second thing I do is, oh, let's close this, is I would again stay in the third column. If I am deducting the cost of any chemicals that I'm using, any colors that I'm using before I pay the staff their commission, that's when I want to use the third column, very first row, remove the cost of a service. So I will select the yes checkbox and I will choose which level. So for my junior stylist, for my senior stylist, which one should I use? I'm going to start with junior stylist. So I'll go through my list and I'll say, okay, if you're doing highlights, half head highlights, for example, I'm going to take $5 off. And for full head highlights, I'm going to take $7 off. So I would make my change at the bottom of the screen and press save. And then I would scroll through and just one at a time, make my adjustment and hit save. So this can be a little bit time consuming. But of course, once it is configured correctly, you really don't have to worry about it. So I go service after service, save all of my changes. Once I complete making my deductions for the junior stylist, I would then repeat the process for the senior stylist. So again, I'll go to half head highlights and I'll make those same deductions. $5 here, $7 there. So you have to do that for any level that should have deductions. Now, in the case of the one that I have do not book, so I actually created a custom commission type or a custom level. And this is designed for my front desk because my front desk doesn't actually cut hair, perform any services. So I don't have to worry about deducting anything before their commission is calculated. So I only choose the ones that do, senior and junior. Once I've made my deductions, the second, I'm still in the third column, the second row, fallback wage. I want to press variable. So this is where I tell shortcuts. When I calculate the commissions, should it be their wage plus their commission, so their hourly rate plus their commission, or do I want to pay them on whichever is greater? So if I choose the second column, shortcuts will look at their schedule, look at how many services they did, and actually figure out, okay, this week was kind of slow for them, so I'm just going to give them their hourly. Or they did a lot of services this week, I'm going to give them their commission. So you make your adjustments, and then again, third column, retail commissions. So if, let's say you're a Redken salon, let's say you're a L'Oreal salon, so you actually want to give your staff commissions based on upselling certain companies. You actually have the ability to tell shortcuts which lines, which companies should have a certain commission rate. So you can actually set up a band just for this. So I can say my KMS or my Goldwell, I actually give them, instead of 5%, maybe they get 7 or 8% for upselling this particular company. So the third column is very important in extended commission setup. The fourth column, top row, banding type, cumulative versus target. So again, cumulative would be the 45 plus the 50 plus the 55, or target. If my staff does over $1,200, they should get their target 55% if they're on commission number 2. So this is where I set that banding type. And then I would press save. So once you press save, we'll go back to shortcuts. So when you're ready to run your report, you would go to Tools and Reports. And on the left side, it still falls under the employee category. And it's going to be Extended Commission Wages Report. So when you go to your reports, if the only one that you see is Commission Wages Report, then chances are you do not have ECR installed on the system. So do let our customer care know if you're interested in this. And this is, again, something that works in both Shortcut 7 and Shortcuts 8. But I'm going to go to the extended one, and I'm going to view it. Now, again, I only have test transactions for today, so you're not going to see too many things. So I'll view it for today, and you're going to notice the report looks a little bit different than my standard commission report. So instead of each employee having their own separate page with their breakdown of what their hourly was, what their commission was, what their totals were, the very first window on the commission wages report just puts everybody together. So I can see Joe, Sam, Stevie, what they did, what their totals are. So they're all here. Now, you notice that each employee actually has a link. So if I click on Sam, for example, I can see the breakdown. What are my deductions? In this case, I'm doing chemical costs, so I'm deducting certain amounts, and you get that percentage here. And at the bottom, Shortcuts will show you what those bands should be. So it will also show you what the percentage is, what the rates should be. So I'll go back. So on the top left, if you notice, when I'm in the reports, every time I select the name of a staff member, the report opens a new tab at the top of the screen. So I can scroll between every new tab, and I can press the preview button and return to the main report. Now, this is something that everybody should know about reports and shortcuts. If I were to press the print button at the bottom of the screen, Shortcuts will send a copy of this report to my regular printer. So that's fine. If, however, let's say you want to print the report for Stevie, or for Sam, or for Joe, if I was looking at this window and I press the print button, by default, Shortcuts will only send the report for the main report, the preview screen. But if I want to print Joe's report, at the top left corner, there is a second printer button that says print report. This will print the particular screen that you're on. So sometimes this question comes up during training. It's like, I try to print a certain window, but it only prints the main one. Don't forget that we have this second printer button, and this controls which page that you're currently looking on will get printed. Okay, so let's go back to PowerPoint, and let's bring it up again. So that actually covers the advanced reports and shortcuts. So now you should know how to set up your basic commissions, your basic wages. That's a refresher in case you missed the first classroom session on that. And if you're interested, or if you haven't used extended commissions in a while, how to configure those extended commissions. Plus, how to read those particular reports. And I'll go back to this screen. Of course, the loudest cars in the world decide to pass by during my classroom session. So again, you get to see the breakdowns of particular staff members when you click on their names, plus any formulas. So you can go to the miscellaneous options and tell extended commissions, I want you to include a description, a breakdown of what formulas were used in calculating these numbers. So now that we've reviewed this is the part of the classroom session where we open up the floor to everybody. So it's a small turnout today, but if anybody has a question, go ahead and bring up the question bar on your GoToWebinar toolbar, your chat bar, and I'll give you a moment and I'll bring it up on my side so I can take a look and see if anybody has a question. Now, again, for anybody that's watching this video after the fact, if you're watching it on our YouTube or our Shortcuts webpage, and you do have a question on commissions or a question on extended commissions, do reach out to us. Give us a call, send us an email, or even message us on the social media. We will actually get back to you. All right. I don't think we have any questions for today. I'll give you a few more moments in case you're just writing down notes. Okay, but if you do have questions on commissions, go ahead and reach out to us. If you are interested in extended commissions, if you think that really benefit your business, go ahead and reach out to our customer care group and we can schedule an install of it. And if you have questions after the fact, go ahead and reach out to us again on social media. We do actually check those messages and we will get back to you. So thank you all for attending this classroom session, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.